whenever you're watching this today. Uh, I'm glad to be here, and thank you all so much for spending time with me. At the moment that you're watching this, my family and I are both are all displaced as a result of a massive flood that happened in our area. And so, being temporarily homeless is not anything I ever wish anyone to go through, but I am going to share with you, even now in the middle of a crisis, how to go through it and respond to it the right way. Please bear with me. I don't plan to be here long. My device is not charged that much, but I am going to share this with someone who may be going through crisis, or maybe you're looking at this later on and you want to share it with someone. But whatever it is, the purpose of this particular broadcast is to preach to you in the middle of a crisis situation and share with you how to practically apply what I'm going to read to you out of the Bible. So if you wouldn't mind, wherever you are, if you watch this now on the replay, just pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, even now, just guide us, lead us, order our steps. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Amen. Family, thank you so much for being with me, and thank you so much for coming on. For those who are here live a little bit later, we're in the middle of a crisis now, in the middle of disarray. For those who are just coming on now live, our home was flooded during a flooding here in my area. It was a flash flood warning. It didn't rain but more than an hour, but it flooded our home totally. We had to evacuate our place. And I'm going to detail to you how this affected us, why you should pay attention to this, and more specifically, I'm doing this to encourage someone who is going through this particular situation now. This is not a broadcast that's asking for money, or we're not asking for donations or anything of that matter. That's not what this is. This is for encouragement for people who are going through crisis. Here's the passage I want to look at today. It's Job chapter number 1 and Job chapter number 3. And I want to put in front of you for your consideration today this question. How are you choosing to respond in a crisis? How do you choose to respond in a crisis? How to respond in a crisis, all right? Would you please type that in the comment section, how to respond in a crisis, okay? There are two ways that we see in this crisis situation of Job, and there are two responses to the crisis, okay? I don't have any notes with me, by the way, or so if I seem a little bit all over the place today, please bear with me, okay? Let me read to you the passage first, okay? Job chapter number 1 and Job chapter number 3. Okay, if you have it, say, just type yes. If you don't have it, say wait. Job chapter number 1. Let me read to you the entire passage of Job chapter 1, and then Job chapter number 3. Correction, Job chapter number 2. Verse number 9. Job chapter number 2, verse number 9. Got it? Job chapter 2, verse number 9. Here it is. Here's what it says. I'm going to begin. I'm going to begin at verse number 11. Actually, you know what? No. Forgive me. Let me do this because my time is brief. My phone is dying. Let me start here. Job chapter number 1, verse 1. Let's do that. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. that man was perfect and upright, one that feared God, and one that eschewed evil. And there was born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yokes of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. Verse 4. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent all that called for their sisters to eat and drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting had gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be so that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And when Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and from the earth, walking up and down in it. Verse 8. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that fears God and eschews evil. Then Satan answered, Doth Job fear God for nothing? Hath not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance increase in the land. But put thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. Verse 12. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that is in his power, only upon himself put not thy forth his hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And there was a day when the sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger. And said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding them. And the Sabines fell upon and took them away. Yea, have they slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone am escaped to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of God has fallen from heaven, and has burnt up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I alone escaped to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there also came another and said, The Chaldeans made 3 bands and fell upon camels, and hath carried them away, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone am the only one escaped to tell thee. And while he was yet speaking, there also came and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I alone am escaped to tell thee. Verse 20. Then Job arose, rent his mantle, shaved his head, fell down upon the ground, and worshipped. And he said, this is his response, listen, Naked come I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Wherever you're at in the world right now, I want you to type this in the comment section. Type, Blessed be the name of the Lord. If you're in crisis, stay with me. I'm getting ready to take you down the road to get you freedom as I'm going through it now. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Highlight or circle this as well for those who are out there. Highlight or circle verse number 21. That's Job's response. He said, Naked did I come out of the womb, naked will I return. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Not that. Now, the passage shares with us that Job was a man who was right by God. If you got that, give me a thumbs up. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Job was living his life the right way. And moreover, Erica, Job was blessed. He was the richest man in his area. He had a lot of camels, a lot of donkeys, a lot of goats. He had a bunch of different things at his disposal. What those things represented was finances. When it says camels, donkeys, she-asses, those things represent finances. So what it lets us know is that Job was rich. Not only was Job rich in finances, but he was rich in family. He had sons, he had daughters that he had obviously helped or prepared for because they were in their own houses doing well. And he was rich with love in his family. Not only that, Job had servants, people who depended on him for their finances. So he was rich financially, he was rich in love, and not only that, he was a community man. He was helping other people pay salaries and helping other people sustain their homes. You see, maybe you were somebody like this. Maybe you are, or maybe you were somebody like this who had finances beyond what you needed. You had things that you could help other people with, and you were very generous in what you helped people with. But sudden tragedy has occurred, like it has with my family. How do you respond to a crisis? Job responds to this crisis by saying, "Blessed be the name of the Lord." Let me ask you a question. Is that a positive response or is it a negative response? Type that now in the comment section. You see, if you would have typed positive, you would have got it absolutely right. Yes, Job is responding in a positive way. That just like Johnny got right there. You see, we have the opportunity to respond in our crisis one of two ways. We can respond in a positive way by blessing God and recognizing that even in this situation, you are still God and you control all things. His response said, "The Lord gives," recognizing God gave him all he had. And his response is also, "The Lord can take it away," recognizing God controls all things. But he said, regardless of it, blessed be the name of the Lord. And I just have to say that even in this situation, as we have been flooded and displaced and homeless. I mean, if you don't have a home to go to, you are homeless, howbeit temporary or howbeit, long term. You don't have a home. And it just took an hour of rain to totally flood our place. And myself and my young kids, we had to evacuate the place. We did not have a home. If we respond in a way that's negative, it only makes the situation worse. We have to say, just like I'm telling you now, that regardless of what's going on outside, and regardless of the outside that made it inside, blessed be the Lord thy God, even through it all. You see, the problem is, I can't control everything. I can only control what I control. I cannot stop the rain from coming through the doors. I cannot stop the rain from coming underneath the foundations of the home. I cannot stop the whole place from going under. But I can only control the controllables. And in our flooding, I couldn't stop it. And if you can understand this from a father's point of view and from a husband's point of view, and just even from a person who was taking care of himself for quite some time, it hurts very badly when you are not able to control the things that are necessary for your family. Just if you don't understand this, let me just explain this to you. When you have people who are used to doing things on their own and they're doing things on a regular basis that aren't harming people, and when catastrophe occurs, it hurts when you cannot provide the things you're used to for your family. This is hurting me very deeply. But guess what? I'm still not out of it. Why am I sharing this with you? And what does this have to do with the person who is listening to me now. Let me move this. Sorry guys, I'm doing the best I can here. There we go. You see, there's somebody here right now who is going through a situation that's very difficult. There is somebody here right now who may be going through crisis and nobody understands it. But understand this. I'm going to share this with you now in case you have forgotten or need to be reminded that God is the God who still sits on the throne. God is the God who gave you the things you have. God is the God who allowed you the opportunity to breathe. God still is in control. Would you type that in the comment section? Type, God is still in control. Job's response is positive, but I want to show you another response. And before you come to judgment on the response, just listen to it and hear me out. Job has a wife who is going through this situation the same way he's going through it. Okay? Listen to how she responds. In Job chapter number 2, she's looking at Job going through a very difficult situation in his life. And she says in verse number 9, Job chapter 2, verse number 9. Okay, type that in the comment. This is response number 2, Job chapter 2, verse number 9. It says, then said his wife, dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. Did you hear her response? She said, dost thou, that means, do you still retain your integrity? Janika, she said, do you still retain your integrity? Curse God and die. Family, is Job's wife giving a positive response to the situation or a negative one? Is it a positive or a negative one? Type that now in the comment section. You see, if you typed that she was given a negative response, you're absolutely right. Thank you, April. Thank you, Old McDonald. It is absolutely negative. You see, those are our two responses while in crisis. Job, a positive response in Job chapter 1, verse number 21 and 22. And then there is a negative response in Job chapter 2, verse number 9. Let's get into the negative response. Job's wife, before we come to judgment, you have to understand that she is going through this as he is going through this. Okay? You don't hear anything else come out of her mouth. You don't even hear anything else about her in the whole story. Not much. The only time you hear her is when she makes this statement. Job's wife is going through this situation with him. She too lost all her children, not just Job. She too lost all her financial security, not just Job. She too lost her place or status. She too lost her possessions. So before we come to judgment on his wife, understand, she is grieving too. As we go through this personal crisis, please know different people grieve different ways. Don't think that a person's response in the middle of a crisis is their natural or even truthful characteristics. As we go through this period of homelessness, here's the real talk for you. We are experiencing heightened emotional distress. And so the conversation between my spouse and I isn't normal. So I recognize this is not who she really is. This is not who I really am. And so I make accommodations for that, and she with I, because we have to realize that the situations that are causing the crisis are affecting us. You could be going through a crisis now. Don't escalate your situation by listening or taking to heart some of the things that may be said or even done during a crisis. Understand, everyone is not in the same place of faith or spiritually wise. Everyone has their own process to go through when building faith. I want to show you this. Look at what Job does at this point. Job chapter 2, verse number 10. His wife just made a terrible statement. Horrible. What does he do? Does he escalate it? Does he cuss her out? Does he go and make the situation worse? No. Look at this. He tries to manage the situation by reminding her of what we've had. Look what he says. But he said to her, "Thou speakest as one of the foolish women. Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God? And shall we not receive evil?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Do you see that? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. You know what in other words, you know what this means? Job didn't curse God and die like she said. Thank God he did not listen to her. And later on, she's probably thankful he didn't listen to her. But it also says to me, reading between these lines, that Job did not verbally abuse his wife, even in the middle of his distress. He did not cuss her out in the middle of his distress. I imagine he was talking sternly. Maybe he was talking abruptly with her. But he wasn't seeking to be malicious and trying to hurt her. In this crisis, in the one that you may be going through now, do not seek to take that pain and redirect it towards the people who love you. This is called projection. I want you to type that in the comment section now and look it up later. Projection can destroy a family. Let me say that. Projection can destroy a family. So what that means is the thing that I'm receiving, and you know what? I may have even said the wrong word. Let me explain it to you, all right? And if so, I'll change it in the comments later. But here's how it works. The thing that I'm receiving, the stimulus that's causing me to have some type of pain, I take that in and I project it on to other people. Are you following what I'm saying? So because I'm hurting inside from something else, I turn around and I go to the people who are not causing me pain, and I let that pain out on them. You guys understand what I'm saying? If so, just give me a thumbs up, all right? And again, I'll double check and make sure I use the right term. So here's the real talk for you. while I'm in this crisis situation, as a husband, as a father, or as a man, my job is to stabilize. My job is to protect and provide. And part of doing that is to make sure that I'm not in a whirlwind of panic. And it's to make sure that I am not taking the outside circumstances and making them become internal to me as I redirect that pain and destroy other human beings who are trying to help me. Now, on a more personal note, there are some tips I want to give you that are helping me. You see, the place that I live at is managed by a company, and the company is responsible for fixing the damages. When the flooding occurred, the company closed the doors, locked them, pulled down the shades, put up the sign, said, "Sorry, we're out." And the company refused to answer the phone. The moment when we needed help the most, they vanished. Now, the problem, April, with that is it's not only illegal, it's a violation of our rental agreement. But I can't straighten them out before I find a place for my family to live. What that means is I have to secure a place to live out of the rain, out of the flood, and for a time being, we were being poured on in our cars trying to find a place. You see, maybe that's you. You are somebody who is in the middle of crisis. You don't know where to go. You don't have the people who said that they were going to help you. What do? Don't panic. That's number one. Number two, get to a safe place, some emergency housing. That's number two. And once you're in the emergency housing and you can finally start to think straight, stay warm, make sure you get yourself and your children or your loved ones to someplace safe. Then once you're there, then you begin to build from where you can secure long-term or longer-term housing. And then from that point, look to then secure necessities such as food, water, etc. Don't waste your energy wondering why they didn't do their job. See, I can't waste my time wondering why the management company closed the doors. I can't waste my time wondering why the management company won't respond to phone calls or emails. I can't waste my time because right now I have children to make sure that they're safe. I'll get there. But right now, the priority is safety and shelter. There's another thing that I see that needs to be brought out. So I hope this is helping you if you need it. The next thing I see is this. Job went from rich to poor quick. Job was good while he was rich, and Job was faithful while he was poor. The next thing I see is when you have more than what you need, manage those resources so that you can help other people while you're in a position to help them. Save some money if you can. Put things aside, but make sure that you deal justly with and integrally with your resources while you have more than what you need, so that you can prepare a little bit later for emergency situations. We have been doing that. Sure, we've been saving some money, and I've been trying to make sure that we helped people how we could. Why am I saying this? Because in this crisis, there are people who have emerged and said, hey, Michael, we want to help you. We want to help you. And when I needed the help, I accepted the help. When I did not need it, I did not accept it. But I thanked them for it, and I appreciated it. You see, this is the next point I want to bring about. Don't take advantage of emergency situations when you don't need them. Job's statement is loaded. It's powerful. Naked did I come into the world, naked will I return. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. He acknowledges that God, through it all, has given me and sustained me in my entire life. So now that I need something, and I can imagine in his heart and in his mind, he knows that he can rebuild a business. God gave it to him, so he knows that God can bless that. And I imagine in his heart, he knows that he could get more workers. I mean, but how about the things that he can't replace, like his family? How about the things he can't replace, like the people who work for him that lost their life? That is heavy on him. You see, don't take advantage of emergency situations when you don't need them. There are good people out there that want to help out of the goodness of their heart. But while you are in that situation, don't take more than what you need, and don't allow or allow yourself to be in that emergency situation for a long term. In other words, if you can move on past the emergency housing, past the emergency food, past the emergency beds, and you can sustain yourself, do it. Because you're taking away from somebody else's needs by you being comfortable in an emergency situation. You guys understand what I'm saying? And so my family and I have been in an emergency situation, emergency place. It took us some time to stabilize, and so we kind of stabilized a little bit. So now, we move on and we find some place that we can be in until now we work out our situation. Don't take advantage. Don't take advantage. And so, family, as I bring this to a close, my phone is dying, so I can't go on, and I don't know exactly where to charge it at. I want to just throw out some rapid fire things here because, again, I just don't know who this is for and when you'll be looking for it. But understand this, that even as we go through this homeless period, don't be quick to come to judgment on a person who may look worse than you. Because right now I look bad. I mean, if you've seen me, I got the same shirt on, the same two shirts I've been wearing the last 2 weeks, or week, excuse me. Same shorts. It's hard to come to a shower when you don't have a place. Fortunately, I have a place that has a shower. It's hard to be comfortable sleeping in a bed that's in a home or place or shelter that's foreign to you. It's hard to love your kids and sleep with one eye open, making sure that they're okay in a place that's foreign to you. Now, fortunately for me, when we moved to an emergency place, I didn't have to do that. But don't be quick to rush to judgment on a person who does. Help the person how God needs, how God leads you to help them. And sometimes that help is just reminding them that God is in control. You don't have to give them anything, and that's what God leads you to do, but sometimes it's just reminding them. Okay? So Job goes through this crisis. He responds to it. His wife responds differently. It's not right. But we understand that everyone responds to a crisis differently. Let me give you some takeaways for this, and then I have to leave. Here are some takeaways, okay? In case you just got here, here's the snapshot. There's two ways to respond to a crisis. We learned this from the book of Job. Job chapter 1, verses 21 and 22, Job responds by blessing and recognizing God. In Job chapter 2, verse number 9, his wife responds by making sure that she is totally negative against him and God. We don't rush to judgment on Job or the wife, because when you read the rest of the story, Job's response changes. But the wife and Job have both experienced catastrophic losses. Your takeaway from this, if this is you and you're listening now, listen to me closely. First thing you do is get to a place where you can be safe. You and your children and your family, keep them together. No putting my kids here and no me staying here and my husband stay there. You stay together if you can. Second takeaway, is when you're at a safe place and stabilized, begin to search for a place that you can manage on your own with your own resources. Halfway houses sometimes are there, or there are certain temporary homes that have to have you pay a reduced rent, but begin to use that time to search for a place that you can stay on your own. And then once you've done that, then you take the next step, and that is search for a long-term place. Search for something that you can stay in that's safe for you and your family. Next takeaway is this. Don't forget that when you have resources, to help other people while you have them. Manage them wisely and assist how you can, because the resources could be taken away quickly, and it could be you who could be homeless. It could be you in a matter of minutes that could lose all your things. It could be you just with the click of a button that can have your bank accounts wiped out. So don't mismanage your funds. Save if you can, that's great, but use it to help other people. Okay? Another takeaway is this. If you need something, listen to me closely. Don't be too proud to accept help. Don't be too proud to accept help. If you need it, take it. But only take what you need. That's the next takeaway. If point number 4 is don't be too proud to accept help, point number 5 is only take what you need. And then, perhaps the most important point,